Hello, my name is Silvester Henderson, and I am so honored this early afternoon to introduce Dr. Elnora Tena Webb, who was the past president of Laney College and is presently the CEO president of Signature Solution. Welcome, Dr. Webb.
Oh, it's my honor. Thank you so much, Professor Silvester. I'm so honored to be here, not only because of your legacy, because your unwavering faith in the greatness of people and humanity.
Thank you. Dr. Webb, can you please introduce yourself to our digital, academic, and professional worlds, please?
Well, it's an honor to be able to do that. I am an individual that's extremely fortunate, blessed, and eternally grateful that I'm here, because I didn't have to be here. My birth mother was only 13 years old when she was harmed. And so I'm here by the grace of the Great Spirit, God. And I'm here because that little child chose to allow me to come through her. And I too was born in those horrific environments, and then became a foster kid and was told that I wouldn't live to the age of 20 for all kinds of justifiable reasons, whether it's from doctors or from people in the neighborhood who didn't know me and thought I would end up like my birth mother, that they didn't really know her and didn't know her circumstances. So here I am, 66 years old. And as someone who was diagnosed as a child as mentally retarded, I ended up at the top public institution in the country and arguably on the planet, the University of California at Berkeley, in 2 Ph.D. programs. I worked at Stanford in leadership roles. I was able to leverage people across this country, influencing policy at the state and other levels. And so I'm that little girl who saw something big and felt something bigger and was driven by that, and less the talk that had nothing to do with me, that was a bunch of noise. And I began to go beyond rising to the expectation that were limited of the adults and elders around me, to rise to an expectation that exceeded my wildest dreams. So my trajectory in life is literally a reflection of my mindset and my willingness to be led by a spirit greater than me.
I have just been in awe the last couple of minutes just listening to you and watching you, because you're such a pleasant and you have such a wonderful perspective on life. Thank you. What roles did you perform as the past president of Laney College?
Well, actually, before I was honored to be president, I was the Dean of Humanities, Language Arts, and Social Sciences. And that's after many years of experience in higher education at the University of California, Riverside, Sonoma State University, Stanford University, a researcher at Cal, and then doing a stint at Contra Costa Community College District. There was a president at the time who I connected with and said, if you'd like some consulting work done, it's my pleasure. I was doing consulting work in Silicon Valley, and I thought, well, this college is closer to where I'm at in Berkeley. It's located in Oakland, just 15 minutes away, depending upon where I was. And she says, I'll get back with you. Months later. So I say to people, if someone says they're going to get back to you, don't assume that they're going to get back the next day, the next month, the next year. Assume they're going to keep their word and leave the universe open to them contacting you. She had forgotten all about me for a spell, and then she needed something. So she connected with me and said, can you do this? I said, sure. And she thought I would do the marginal, because I'm a researcher by training. And so I did more, and she was blown away. And she says, well, can you stay? We need an interim dean. I said, sure. I'm only teaching right now and finishing up my doctoral studies, or my dissertation. And then the faculty, who had never had someone like me, kept coming to me, wow, we never had anybody do this. You're coming to my classes to observe? You're bringing us all together? I never met the fellow faculty members, part-time or full-timers. I've been here for 20 years or 15 years. Wow, you have an open door policy even when your door is locked. I don't understand. who are you? Where are you from? And I've been blessed with a younger look than I am. So most people thought I just got out of undergrad school and I had no experience. In fact, that was the talk around the campus. This kid doesn't know anything. Who does she think she is? From those good old boys. And then the good old boys came in and stormed the office. And I don't know, I think I was going through the change at the time. I think I started going through the chemical change that women tend to go to in later years, and men do too. It's a different kind of change. And you may know what I'm talking about, given you are a man and have known a lot of wonderful people and still know a lot of wonderful men. So anyway, so my wiring is always to listen to understand first, and maybe to get people to understand me. I don't tend to do that second part of Covey. It's all about, I need to understand the other. And that will allow me to position myself to help the other. If I only understand me, I'm just projecting me onto the other person, right? So that was part of that experience. And people, they'd have all kinds of issues and they would run to my office. Now they knew that they had a dean, not that they didn't like the previous deans, plural, they had a dean that was qualitatively and quantitatively different in terms of the amount of transactions I engaged in. Because I'm that classic nerd. You give me a problem, I'm looking for the solution right away. And then I'm wired to, if you have a problem, to ask you what you think the solution is. And people are like, they got to a place where, oh, she's got the answers. And then I shifted it. And, oh no, she's gonna require that you come up with the solution first. So it was beautiful, it was awesome, it was magical. From my perspective, I don't know about the faculty, but obviously they valued me because they said, well, we need you to be the permanent dean. And I'm thinking, well, this is just a spell, just for 6 months or a year. And, I'll go off and do my thing, whatever that thing is. And so because of the encouragement of the vast majority of the faculty, I decided to apply for the full-time position. And I didn't know, because I'm focusing on what I'm doing, which is multiple things, still in the community and support of the community, but quietly, right? People don't know I'm behind it. And I'm hired as a permanent dean. Then the same thing happens when I'm a vice president. I'm a dean permanently, the vice president, the person leaves, gets a promotional role in another district, and I'm asked to assume that responsibility by the faculty. Interim, and I said, okay, I'm just gonna help for a short time. This dean role is kind of quite nice, I love it. And people have been trying to recruit me around the country to be a university president. I'm thinking I haven't even been a VP. And then I'm being told, listen, you've got a great reputation. You don't have to be a VP in order to be a university president. But my wiring, and it's not that everyone has to do this. I like to do things stepwise. I like to get competent in an area. And if I do go to the next level, I go there with a base. I have a solid foundation, not quicksand where I've got to figure things out and try to put things in place. I like to move in a sound way. So get to VP, do the same thing. Faculty are like, now there's more faculty. We need to have you be the permanent VP. And in the meantime, I'm getting recognized, etc. And I'm thinking, well, this is kind of uncomfortable because my leadership up until that point is to take care of business and then highlight others. So I had implemented these rituals. We always have rituals. Doesn't matter whether we intentionally design them or not, but I believe in the 4 frames of higher education leadership. There's the human resources frame, there's the resource development frame that's part of, but there's that substantively different. There's the leadership, educational leadership frame, and then there's a symbolic ritualistic frame. You've got to have standard meetings. You have to have standard ways to recognize and honor people. You have to, and make it where it's just expected. And then people feel respected. The culture transforms, it's illuminated, it's enhanced. And before you know it, it becomes normal. So when people come in part of the culture, as I've learned from organization demography and also cultural transformations in organization, in terms of organizational learning, that the right person, like a Professor Silvester, enters the environment and shifts it right away. Because of your intelligence, emotional intelligence, intellectual wirings, your innovation, your whatever, and people just gravitate it. And all of a sudden you become what we call a key node in the network. The network is everybody. And then everyone gravitates to you. And because you value, you support, you honor the existing values, you're elevated, even though you may not want to be. You're elevated in a way that, because of your leadership, I mean, I'm talking to you now based upon your leadership that had nothing to do with me, and because of whatever you experienced from your parents, from your elders, from your loved ones that you were born with, from the Great Spirit, you created a following independent of a desire to create a following. Well, that's what I love to build. And that's with the faculty, with the staff, with the administrators, I had the luxury of building. It was intentional and it was fun. And I got to work before everybody. I left work after everybody. I wasn't even aware of it. And I found out later on, Silvester, that members of the sheriff's department followed me home 1, 2 o'clock in the morning to make certain I got home. I found that out after I retired. And I'm speaking to one of the guys who was the lead. He says, we respected you. We didn't understand what the heck you were doing there early in the morning, evening, but we knew that you were working on behalf of people and you actually helped us. And I'm thinking, what do you mean I helped you? Well, you gave us a lot of latitude to educate students and not just come in and do things that would create discord. And then he and others began to describe it, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so I learned from other people about me, my wiring that I wasn't consciously aware of. But you know, you do things because it's just natural. You do things because you learn them. You do things because they work. You do things because they're your strengths. And then I got from people what were areas of weaknesses that I could actually bring in other people who have strengths in those areas. So if I didn't have time to work on those weaknesses, I could minimize the negative effect of them. So I did a myriad of things. As a dean, I was responsible for all the faculty, 150, small number at the time, about 55 to 6,000 students. As a vice president, responsible for all the instructional areas, those that were classic, transfer-oriented courses, those were vocational, that the faculty, thank goodness, they allowed me to lead them, but they did the leadership. Let's be very clear. Transforming the curriculum in short period of time. I said, do it in 3 years. They looked at me like I was nuts and said, she's obviously crazy, but we care about her, we respect her, but she's not quite there. But they did it. In 3 years, they changed, they upgraded the curriculum across the campus. They did things that were not reasonable, but we're not supposed to be reasonable when we're serving other people. We're supposed to be unreasonable and provide quality, excellence, and learning all the time to do it right. So the career technical education programs morphed out of old vocational. We need people to be valued for caring about vocations, whether it's in HVAC, and then we transformed it into building automation. So what that came, working with the community, the CEOs of corporations, with the municipalities, those that required HVAC, but at the automated level. And then we work with the National Science Foundation, thanks to a genius dean that I was able to work with, and all the faculty who come from industry. So they knew, and then they had colleagues who were still in industry informing the curriculum. So when the curriculum was done and it was vetted with the different regional groups and the state group, it was the top, whether it was in HVAC or it was in machining that became industrial and advanced manufacturing, whether it was in welding or construction. I can go on and on. It was just awesome. And people were brought to the campus from the state governor's office, brought to the campus from the policy studies program at UC Berkeley and elsewhere, from the continent of Africa, whether it was Nigeria or another country, from Asia, especially interesting enough, Singapore, and they have advanced stuff. They wanted to see what separated that campus. And it really, quite frankly, were the folks who were leading, the faculty, the staff support, and the administrators who said, okay, let's get these resources from federal, state, private, sector, so that our students, whether they had a high school diploma or equivalent, or had a community college degree, all the way to JDs and PhDs, they were coming back, Professor Silvester, leveraging those programs and leaving. And for folks who had never earned a high school diploma, were earning $80,000 a year. There was one person who was leading a major company in Southern California. He had invested a lot in one of our programs, not to be named because he might be identified, although he probably wouldn't matter, but wouldn't care. He called me and he was upset with me. I said, well, give it to me. I believe in 360 feedback, right? Give it to me. And he says, we've been investing in this program, but the issue is all the students who they complete this program and they get hired right away. And I said, well, what's the compensation? $150,000 a year. He couldn't attract people at $150,000 a year. Now, mind you, some of these folks weren't even native to English, but we embedded English as a second language. We embedded higher level math, algebra, geometry, calculus. And for example, in industrial manufacturing, these folks could not touch the machinery. They couldn't do the calculations. So there was an incentive to learn the so-called basic and higher level skills, knowledge, because they had to apply it. Otherwise, they lose a finger or a hand. So there was so much transformation. So what I got to do, really, I got to inspire. What did I get to do? Really, I got to say yes, because I'm not wired to say no. When I say yes, that means I have to back it up with resources. What I got to do was I got to unencumber people from the administrative bureaucracy. And you worked in higher education. You worked at the UC, the CSU, and the community college system. You know the bureaucracy. You worked at the state level, informing things. When we do that, we see the bigger picture. And when we do that, all of a sudden we can use our expertise to literally decide what can we bring to the table? What can we change? What can we eliminate in order to ensure people are unencumbered by nonsense to do what's going to provide brilliance for all the folks who come to us, whether they're still in grade school because they were able to get in through a special admit program, or they're elders who are coming back to be reskilled, or they just want to keep their minds going. And they're building out this beautiful furniture in their garage because they leveraged our programs. So you said, what did I do? What is necessary? Lead by example, have a vision, ensure the operations are working smoothly. People get what they need when they need it. Ego is left someplace else. Ego may be important. For me, it's a hindrance. It's, what do you call it? EGO, edging God out. And so the whole point was, and people didn't understand that, not everybody, because they're used to people in leadership roles saying, bow down to me, and then, I'll talk with you when it's convenient for me. Where literally, when you're in leadership roles and you're effective, there are a lot of inconveniences, because the whole point of leadership, true leadership, transformative leadership, servant leadership, is to study always, consistently. Understand what the blockages are, understand enough about the opportunities to eliminate the blockages, not just temporarily, like a Band-Aid, but literally transform things so that blockages are not there. But we have to understand, in order to get to the next level, there's always blockages. There's always learning. There's always constraints. The power of those things is to pay attention to them, to understand them, and then to leverage them to move forward in a way that would otherwise not get there. And a key part of that is listening to the faculty, to the staff, and administrators, and assuming that even if 90% of what one person says seems like noise, that 10% may be brilliant. You've got to be patient.
That's right. Thank you for your kind response as you continue to just inspire me. Can you share some of your experiences as the CEO President of Signature Solutions?
Yes, it has been awesome. So when I retired earlier than I anticipated, I went through a metamorphosis. It's not unlike what I did when I was a child, or when I graduated as an undergrad, or when I left different positions over the nearly 40-year career history. I needed to go through a completely different transformation because of some challenges before, which we may touch on a little bit of those. And as I did that, people kept calling me, whether they were faculty, they were administrators, or they were people who knew me across the country and said, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And my wiring began to say yes. So I kept saying yes to people. I just got laid off. Can you help me? Yes, 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 yes. And I was still helping myself, right? and yet part of getting out of your own stuff, for me, my own stuff, and building myself up is always being in service. I get to forget for a moment, even if it's just 2 hours, what I'm going through. I get to mobilize and help somebody else. And even if they don't understand exactly what I'm doing, if they choose to leverage it and it helps them, that's actually healing for me. And so people kept calling me and say, oh my God, I'm now a VP, I'm a provost, or I'm a president, or, I completed the strategic plan things for you, or whatever, community-based organization, corporation, university. It was across the board. And I was like, and I kept saying to them, I need you to do something. And it was kind of like funny. The 5th, the 6th, the 10th time it happened, I said, go to the mirror, don't hang up the phone, look in the mirror and say thank you. And they're like, looking at the phone or whatever. And one guy says, what are you talking about? I said, go to the mirror and say thank you. And so I said, don't question me, just go to the mirror. You've been great. You've been a student. You've let me be your coach. He came back, the 6'5" tall guy, brilliant guy, who's working for one of the named corporations on the planet. If I told you, your audience would know, let alone you. Brilliant brother. He had been laid off and he was brilliant. He had done things for his corporation. And if he had not done it, they probably would have been somewhere in the area of bankruptcy. It would have been pretty bad, but they laid him off. So he had to build himself up. And I can't do that for anybody else. What I did was I facilitated in him techniques, tools, new habits, encourage him to remove certain habits in order to install new ones, and then change the emotional mindset, emotional understanding, subconscious mind, because that's what drives us 90 to 95%, if not for some people, 100%. We're driven by the emotional mind. And most people say, oh, she's just emotional. Well, that's true, but he's emotional too. We're all emotional beings. So the key thing is to understand how to shift things so that you can walk with that confidence, not cockiness. You don't need to do that. And so he had done that and he had created opportunities. So he's given me all the credit. So I said, go to the mirror. He did it. He came back and said, wow, that felt good. I said, you understand why I asked you to do that? He says, not really. I said, because you did the work. I just gave you tools. If you didn't do the work, you'd be where you were before. And he said, yeah, you promised me in a month and a half I wouldn't recognize myself. My wife and I don't recognize me. I said, that's it. You did it. So something hit me. It says, you need to monetize this. You're doing all this stuff for other people because I can, and I cared, and I still didn't really get up to speed to monetize it right away, but I created Signature Solutions, corporate results. And the name of the company just came to me. I didn't even surf. I was trying to figure out I'm providing solutions, and they're as unique as everyone's signature. So Signature Solutions, and I'm working with corporations, and the bottom line are results. So there you go, Signature Solutions, corporate results. And the whole point is to encourage everybody to understand that they're the CEO of their lives. Even if they acquiesce and give someone else the power, they're still the CEO of their own lives. And so we're running a corporation in the major sense, not in the government sense of a name S Corp or C Corp is a human being, but we're really human beings. We get to have a vision. We get to develop our mission. We get to develop our core strategic priorities, and then concretize that. I don't even know if that's a word, but operationalize it in terms of specific measurable goals. And then have operational strategies and get out and take action. Get the results that we now believe we can get it. We have a burning desire for it. We believe that's more than 90% of getting to the results.
Wow.
So that's how I started. And it was about executive coaching, providing that. And that was just, I loved it. And then it was about strategic planning and providing master planning. And before I knew it, I'd invested almost $300,000 of my own funds and thinking, what am I doing? I'm getting this training, I'm growing is what I was doing. And I would do it again. I had no idea I was going to invest $274,000 or $275,000 in a year and a half, almost 2 years. And I recouped it in the next 2.5 years, easily. And then there was a desire by different organizations, can you do this? Can you do this? So I had almost 20 independent contractors working with me. And I thought, whoa. I'm only helping X number of institutions at a time, and primarily execs. I'm loving it, but I'm spreading myself thin again. And if I'm gonna do this big, I've gotta help millions of families. Now, Silvester, something happened, Professor, that I didn't anticipate. Not only did that feeling and thought, because it was driven by an emotional feeling and then a thought. And my life is always that way. I honor it. I got a vision. I'm on my way to do something, and it says, get paper, write down $1 million. 1 and then 6 zeros. And then I'm thinking, what is this about? And then it says 100,000, 1 and what? 5 zeros. And then it says 10,000, 1 and 4 zeros. And then 100, 1 and 2 zeros. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, okay. And then I go to put it away. And the voice says, no, take it out and put these words at the end. And the words were, at the end of $1 million, financially free. I'm thinking, okay. And the words after 100,000 was ambassadors. And the words after 10,000 was partners. And the words after 100,000, I don't remember the exact words, I've got to pull it out, but it was akin to millionaires. So the whole point of the 100 would be people from the 10,000 who in record time are demonstrating what the 1 million are to demonstrate. And I'm sitting there, I wasn't sitting, I was standing, because I'd written it down. I'm like, what is this about? And I'm doing strategic planning, educational master planning, or master planning for nonprofits. And I am doing executive coaching. And so I just kind of let that go and like, okay, this happens every 6, 7, or 5 years. I get a vision, I accomplish it, and then I am thriving, I'm having fun with it. But I had already said to myself, I'm working small here. Although making a lot of money, but I'm working small here. It's not about the money. Money is a means, it's not the ends. What am I doing? I was reacting, I wasn't responding. And here it is, I'm given a vision, a gift. So I went to put it in a drawer and something said, no, put it up where you could see it every day. So I put it in my master bathroom, and I put it on the mirror. So every time I take a shower, wash my face, brush my teeth, I'm looking up, I'm like, it's an interesting muse, but I don't know what that's about yet. I'm sure I'll learn. That's the beginning of what led me here. But I'm going to honor your questions.
Wow. That is transformative. Can you reflect on the challenges and triumphs you've encountered as a leader in both academia and the corporate arenas?
Yes. I was fortunate, having experienced everything that I've experienced from childhood through adulthood, because everything has made me who I am. And things I wouldn't wish on other people, I have benefited from, because it helped me to discern, be more discerning. It's helped me to reflect more deeply. It's helped me to grow more profoundly. So among the biggest challenge is the need for me to pay more attention. My wiring is to be tunnel vision. Once I'm given a vision, literally nothing gets in my way. It doesn't matter how big the challenge is. I plow right through it. And in my mind right now are all kinds of issues that have come up during my career that would suggest that I should have taken another route, gone into another career altogether, or stopped right away, or been completely depressed, or cried for the rest of my life. And yet that's not my wiring. I'm that little tomboy that was like, I'll beat up any boy, I'll jump from any tree. That was my wiring, because that's what you do. Life is for living. Life is not for, sitting back and waiting for something to happen. We create all the time, even when we're sitting back waiting for somebody else to do it. We're creating that. So one of the major challenges was paying more attention for myself, because my wiring is to be in service and of service to others and other entities, whether it's organizations or communities. And I love that. I don't negate that. I don't want to change my history. Yet by not paying attention to me, I allowed myself to say yes to the extent of harming me physically, emotionally, spiritually. So I'm thinking I'm fine. I didn't know I had gained almost 50 pounds because I wasn't paying attention. I'm thinking I'm fine. I didn't understand that people were putting daggers in my back. I think I'm fine. And I didn't know that there was a campaign to undermine my leadership. I think I'm fine. And I didn't know that I was harming myself, again, to go back to the bottom line. I was 100% responsible for everything I experienced. No, I'm not responsible for people's behavior that was, whether it was criminal, and some of it was, or whether it was just simply unprofessional. A lot of it was. And I was responsible for putting myself in environments where that could occur. I was responsible for not paying attention to what was happening. Even when I saw the behavior, I would just have compassion and say, well, the person will do better. So I just need to do better to help that person do better. And the reality is, we know there are some people who are just evil.
That's right.
And there's some people who are so harmed, they can only feel good when they harm. So it really doesn't matter. I'm not the expert. I don't need to do that. I just need to pay attention to the tea leaves. If it says it's raining, I love rain, and I go out in the rain, I'm going to get wet.
That's right.
It's windy and I don't like wind so much, I'm going to get blown around. And so for me, the biggest challenge was for me to pay attention to details. Now, I would as it relates to me, I pay attention to details as it relates to you, because I would pull your coattail and say, Professor Silvester, here's something you need to be aware of, and this is going to help. Oh my God, Dr. Webb, thank you so much. I would not have seen that. But I wasn't doing that for myself. Or I'd see a program that I've been told to eliminate because it's a dirty program or whatever. And so I do my reconnaissance and I go and find out from people who are industry, is this program necessary? Oh, absolutely. Well, can you help us revitalize it, build it? Sure. Connect me to the faculty. Only to find out the faculty were already connected, and all I had to do was find the money, work with the right people to get the money for them. And then, of course, I became an ogre because I didn't do what I was told. We told you to eliminate that program. And so I'm the president, so I have to make, or at the time I was VP, I had to make a sound decision. Now, if you need to fire me, I respect that, okay? Because I need to be accountable to my leadership. So while I was making a different decision, I was saying, I'm researching this and I'm finding that our industry demands this program. There's nothing offered in the area. And if we eliminate it, we actually undermine our community. And we're all about the community. And we have the best enrollment in the history of Laney, and it's going up. It's 21,000, and close to 25% of the income we bring in goes to support the other 3 colleges in the district. And if we undermine that, then we've undermined the money and the flow to the other colleges in the district office, right? So I just use facts, use realities. Didn't mean that people were happy with me. In fact, they were not happy with me at all. I didn't pay attention. Now, I would not have changed what I did, but I might have done some things to help that person not feel like they were losing face because I didn't do what I was told to do. Well, there are a number of reasons why we're born into conditions we're in. And for whatever reason, I think my spirit chose my conditions, even though they were deplorable. And I think my spirit chose those conditions instead of having someone else do them because I could deal with them and I could learn from them. So part of my not paying attention to things related to me was part of the blinders that I had. So I could keep going, achieve. Now that program began to thrive. Oh my God. And we got rid of it. I could talk about the different organizations and businesses in the area that would have been compromised because they required our students. And then we provided more students because it's an aging industry without naming the particular industry. So that's a big deal for me, is paying attention to the tea leaves as it relates to me, because my wiring is outside of me. And that not paying attention led to this. And this is an appeal to all of us. I was diagnosed with a level of illnesses that led people, the doctor who saw me, I couldn't figure out why I wasn't moving too much because, again, I was in 2 PhD programs working full time. That's my wiring, sleeping 3 hours a night. That's all I needed most of my life until I was about 52 or 53. And I thought that was normal. Well, it turns out, based upon research, it is normal for certain people. But everybody kept saying, you need to rest. I'm thinking, if I sleep more than 4 hours, I can't function. I'm literally sluggish. Well, here, my body was shifting and the stress level was so that I gained weight, wasn't aware of it. I got sick, wasn't aware of it. I couldn't turn my head to the left. I couldn't turn it to the right. I couldn't do this or this. And my shoulders were like up here, like a football player with all this muscle. And I was in a dire pain. It's because I wasn't paying attention to me. So I can talk about all the stuff that happened to me that I can take responsibility, say I was 100% responsible because I didn't pay attention. Wow. That's the biggest challenge.
Well, you have kind of touched on a lot of wonderful things and painful things, but it's through pain, because I've experienced a lot. It is through pain that we grow. Having said that, as a corporate CEO, do you consider yourself still an educator in your role? And if so, could you elaborate on that perspective?
Principally, I'm an educator. It's my wiring. When I went to higher education, I went to the University of California at Riverside as a 17-year-old, not because I thought I was smart. In fact, it was just the inverse. I didn't think I was smart at all. And I had never paid attention to my grades. So someone said that there was housing if you go to college or university studies. And I could hear that in the background of this last location I was living in, the last foster home I was in. And all I could think was, I don't want to be homeless again. And so I went directly to the vice principal of the school. And I said, I need to be in college prep courses. Now, Professor Silvester, I had no idea what college prep meant. I just heard these students talk about it. Now, I'm living now in a new town from South Central Los Angeles all the way to East LA in West Covina. And the school I'm going to is Nogales High School in La Puente. And so there's very few people who look like me. Growing over the time, there became more folks who look like me. And so when I walk into this vice principal's office, he looks at me and he's disturbed that I'm there to begin with. And I said, I need to be in college prep. I didn't know how to ask the question. I just simply, when I have a thought, I just share it. And I'd like to believe I did it respectfully. And he says, don't worry about it. McDonald's is down the street. And I looked at him and I didn't think good or bad about it. And so I sat down in a chair and I kind of thought about that. He didn't know I was already working at McDonald's because it was the only means to bring in some income. So I'm thinking, what does McDonald's have to do with my not being homeless? But he didn't know I was thinking about that. And what does it have to do with my going to college or not? But more importantly, it's not enough money to get me housing. So I'm processing that, not aloud, internally. And he's just seeing this little darky, as he would describe, given his behavior. I like to say beautiful darky, sit in the chair. And I'm just this little tomboy, not thinking anything, and I'm thinking survival only. I'm thinking I'm responsible for myself, and I have been since I was 7. And so I'm not leaving until you put me in college prep. And I'm not even going to tell you why, because I'm embarrassed that I'm in foster home. So there's all this stuff going on in my head and in my heart. And so he gets tired of me. I think I'm there 20 minutes or 30 minutes. He said, you need to go to class. You need to go to class. And I don't move. I'm not disrespectful. And finally, he just gets something and he scribbles and says, here are your new classes. So he puts me in college prep. And so like a lot of kids, I rose to the level of expectation. I did not know until I got my records that in grade school, I was considered mentally retarded. Get this, Professor Silvester.
Wow.
And so I was put in slow classes, whatever that meant, right? And so those records hadn't reached the high school yet, because I was just moved from Los Angeles, Fremont High School, to this school. And it's a good thing the records hadn't reached, because then I'm in college prep courses, and guess what? I performed like college level because I was responding to the expectations in the environment. And I was driven because I got to get to college because I'm not going to be homeless again. And I'm going to age out at 17. And so not only did this guy get me in college prep, he was so disturbed by me, but also I think a little impressed that I didn't move and I didn't have any attitude, because he didn't know I was thinking like, okay, what do I do? What's my secondary, whatever. And he made certain that I met someone who was responsible for, at that time, a summer bridge program. And thanks to the genius of people long before me who created this educational opportunity program, student affirmative action program, I was able to get into the University of California, Riverside. Now, I don't know if I would get in otherwise. I didn't care. Who cares? I got in. And it was remarkable. And in the first year and a half, I went through a transformation that is akin to a snake shedding skin. And I only use that analogy because when I helped one of my brothers who got out of prison literally get on his feet, he did this. He actually shedded skin onto my white sofa. And he was so mortified because he was all of a sudden in a safe space. That's a whole nother discussion. But the key thing is this. So I'm there, and from there, I get epiphanies. That experience transforms me. Without going to all the details, I realize education saved my life. I no longer focus on survival. I know that I can design my life and experience what I want to experience. I don't even know what that means yet, because I don't know what I don't know. Yet I begin to be my own agent. I recognize I had agency. Before, I didn't know it as that. I just knew I was responsible for myself. There, I was beginning to triangulate all these different studies, whether it's African American history I'd never been exposed to before, or it's Native American history I'd never been exposed to before, or it's mathematics, which I love, to environmental studies, to geology, to psychology, to sociology too. And then my mind was just blown away, and I could see the intersection and the integration, and everything worked together. I couldn't understand anthropology without sociology. I couldn't understand sociology without psychology. The study of the mind, the study of people, the study of cultures. I couldn't understand biology without some basic understanding of chemistry. It was like I was turned on. And then I'm interacting with people from Libya, and these guys, for whatever reason, who didn't allow women at the table to eat with them on the floor and eat with the hands, they welcomed me in. And I'm like, well, where are your wives? And they were cooking. And they're like, no, everything's good. And they treated me like I was a queen. And I'm with them for particular spiritual practices and conversations. And I don't even know why. And then I'm with another group of people. And then I'm helping tutor kids in Rubado, California, who never left these environments, with dirt that they walk on, no sidewalks. And I take them into LA to experience the opera, stuff I had never experienced. I don't even know what motivated me other than I wanted these young girls who were harmed like I was to understand there was more. And then I found a group of women who were all in sororities. There were Deltas, there were AKAs, there were Zetas, etc. And I chose to join AKA, but I could have joined any of them because the women were beautiful. And all of those women helped me with these girls. And it was transformative. And all of a sudden I helped with health fairs, etc. This introverted, still introverted, but I love people. It was magical, Professor Silvester. It was awesome. And then I had some epiphanies and I ended up in the hospital and I was supposed to die. I didn't tell people because I believed that I was responsible for being in the hospital. So what did I do? I spiritually said, I apologized to every cell in my body. I asked the professor before I went in for major surgery if they would let me do my work, but I have to be in the hospital. It's not a big deal. I told them, don't worry about it, I'll be back. Did they let me finish my quarter? They said, sure. They didn't know what was going on. I really didn't, but several doctors say, you're probably not going to come out of this. Get into surgery, everything they told me, they had biopsies, they had verified more than twice, was no longer there, was gone. So I've experienced that throughout my life. You're supposed to be over here, and I choose to be over here. You're supposed to have this happen to you. I choose to have this. And I understand there's a master plan for my life that far exceeds what I can imagine. So I live with a level of authenticity to the degree possible, and I know that at the core is education. So I've shifted from higher education because I believe it's a way for people when they get exposed like me, all of a sudden the vista opens up. They get to realize they're their CEO. They get to choose if they so want to. Even if they don't want to, they're choosing to not want to. And then all of a sudden, I get to go into the financial environment. Now the goal is 1 million lives, 10 million, 100 million. And the whole point is to have a spillover effect on the many other families who learn what the families who are directly affected learn. And they say, I want to know too. And no longer beholding to just a political infrastructure, a social infrastructure, an economic infrastructure. They get to lead and help to influence all those systems that affect us all as humans and help to build up humanity.
Wow. You know what? We have covered so many wonderful principles. I have just 2 more questions for you. Could you outline your goals, upcoming projects, and any innovations on the horizon?
Well, I've already shared the basic numbers. Okay. I am on a continuous learning curve, and I'm on a journey, and the pace is picking up. The momentum is picking up to get to that first 1 million families financially independent. It all continues with financial education. The basic rules of money, and then depending upon people's knowledge of that, then understanding the systems that are available to them that most of us don't know, including that's codified in the IRS code that all of us should know. All the way to making certain that the folks who end up being high net worth as a result of their own learning, their own growth, are able to pay it forward, not just for 2 generations, 10, but literally change the trajectory of humanity. So that is it. Those numbers I provide before, that's what I'm about, 100%. And so guess what I get to do? people go to my website, signaturesolutionscr.com, signature solutions with an S, cr.com. They get to see that I have two major tracks: client services, business partners, and they are both essential. We need to help and serve individuals, families, and business owners. And that's what we're doing. And now it's essential. People are losing. The markets are always up and down volatile. We've got a nice, beautiful stretch where overall the market has been going up for a number of years. But the market is cyclical. And we know typically it's 10 to 12 years the market has a dip. And it's not a minor dip. It is a plummeting. And so we want to help people anticipate that, understand it, and protect their funds. So we're doing that, especially with businesses who have a lot of folks who have different governmental plans. We help people save their money. No one pays us. That's the good news for our clients. We get compensated from the companies that our clients choose to use. If they don't need anything, they just need to understand they've got the right portfolio, diversified, whatever it is, then we get to affirm that. If they need us and they have a CPA, we work with their CPA. If they have a financial advisor, we work with their financial advisor. Most people have never had a CPA or financial advisor. We get to help them understand the power of those individuals and help them bring people to the right people. The other thing that is so impressive is we are bringing in more business partners. Right now, people are gearing up for the holidays, gearing up for the New Year's. And we want people to be able to experience the holidays and the New Year's as remarkably and wonderfully as possible. And so I say to folks, if you want a way to bring in extra income and know you're helping people, contact me. If you want a way to sustain your overall assets and build them, contact me. So that's what we're doing. And we're doing it at an accelerated pace. We're working with churches. We have a whole program just for churches. We're working with businesses. We have a whole program just for business owners and their professionals, not only just the executives, but also all the other professionals. We have a program specifically for unions. And in fact, I'm going out to one of the unions this afternoon and talking with their leadership, because one of their key members said, you know, what you do, we need to learn about it. Everyone benefits wherever they're at with whatever they have. They benefit understanding more. So we're about helping people protect what they have, grow, have it compound, work harder for them than they work to earn it, and then be able to access their money, their assets, tax-free, while building an estate plan. One thing that many of us do not do, we're not really prepared for a tax-free retirement. Many of us don't even understand the power of zero taxes. You think, oh, it must be illegal to not pay taxes. No, we want to pay our fair share, but that doesn't mean you have to pay taxes on your growth, on your gains. And definitely most people don't understand the Warren Buffetts of the world and others who literally take advantage of life insurance. Many billionaires have 60% or more of their assets went in life insurance. And why is that? Well, they're like the banks and corporations. Banks legally can put their top tier money, and they do, to the tune of billions of dollars. And those monies tend to be our money. They put them in life insurance because they know they're going to get a higher guaranteed over time rate of return. That's right. That they would otherwise not get. Same thing with corporations. They're called COLIs, corporate-owned life insurance. You learn about that in here. And so there's a lot that we teach that's available to all of us. But if you don't even know what to look for, you're not even going to look for it. And it's written by Black folks, Asian folks, white folks, Latinos, Native Americans, foreign-born, native-born, Pacific Islanders. So it's not about it's just for this group or that group. The few of us know, and the many of us who are few want everyone else to know, but in a way that is specific to the individual and not overwhelming anyone. But if you want to be overwhelmed, I'm your person.
You know what? I want to thank you for taking an hour of your time to share your wonderful and inspired life journey of struggle, of success, of reevaluation, of falling down, of getting up, of staying inspired. I have just been taken on a great inspirational plane ride this last hour. And I want to thank you. I could talk with you forever, but I know your time is valuable. And I want to thank you on behalf as the President and CEO of Professor for Life Incorporated. Thank you once again, Dr. Webb, for taking the time to speak with us.
Listen, I'm so honored. And as you can tell, this is pure passion. And the primary reason why I'm honored is because you lead with distinction. And I can't say anything better. Words are insufficient to describe your care, your unwavering concern, and your impact. So it's an honor.
Thank you so much. Do enjoy your day and have a positive weekend. God bless you.
Likewise.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.